and start organizing. Here's his tweet. You want to see his tweet? Here's his tweet. So so now this tweeted out, listen to this powerful words of this Amazon employee in New York, where workers walked off the job to demand better safety precautions in response to COVID. That was March 31st. An hour ago, Bernie retweeted that and said, Jeff Bezos, the richest man in the world, Amazon, pays zero in federal income taxes. Workers unable to get the protection they need. The greed has got to end. I stand with Amazon workers who are fighting for not a plan on how to make it end. You just had a chance. You just spent for $4.2 trillion. You did fucking nothing to make sure that happened. All this is empty rhetoric. You're flapping your gums with no plan to do anything. You feckless loser. You just signed away a generation. You're going to be dead in a few years, and the rest of the country's going to live in a corporate fucking nightmare, and you're bragging that you got us a water fountain inside the prison they just built us. And this is nothing. What does this tell you, Danny? What does this tell you? What does this tell you? Does this tell you that Bernie has any ideas on what to do right now in the worst fucking crisis in our history, and he calls himself the organizer-in-chief? What does this fucking tweet tell you?
It tells me that the movement to elect Bernie Sanders right now is tailing the crisis. It's behind the moment.
Yes.
And, you know, one of the things that Black Agenda Report has always brought up and that has not always been popular is that, you know, Bernie Sanders has always been an imperialist pig in a lot of ways.
Yes.
He went along with Russiagate.
Yes.
He ceded so much ground in that area,
which is weak and cowardly and feckless and self-destructive
and dangerous. Because right now we're in a moment where COVID-19 is spreading across the United States, and there's such a need to focus on the complete failures of the way that the U.S. is organized and structured. And now we have the Washington establishment targeting China and its own response to COVID-19, which has been far more effective than the United States's. And, you know, because Bernie Sanders and the rest of the social democratic so-called movement, left movement here, just hasn't ever challenged the U.S. foreign policy establishment, it leaves us very wide open to a dangerous scenario to come, which is it's time. The U.S. imperialists will say, hey, it's time to blame China. They're getting ready to do it now. And then we're on our way to an even more intense war once this crisis settles, or maybe while this crisis is happening. And Bernie Sanders and the rest are just not able to challenge that. And when I see a tweet like that, I see someone who is behind the crisis, a movement that is behind the crisis, and one that doesn't have the vision and the foresight to understand just how dangerous this moment is, and that there are workers right now who need leadership, and they're not getting that from anyone in the political aisle, and it leaves us vulnerable to so many dangerous things, and that we need to take that one to heart, I think.
I'll show you. I got some more for you. I just went to his Twitter feed right before I came here. Here's another one. Clark County suspends union contract for UMC healthcare workers in the middle of this pandemic, right? So that was tweeted out. And he goes, healthcare workers risk their lives every day to fight this pandemic, and they deserve to have their collective bargaining rights protected. Clark County must reverse. Again, no plan, not an idea in sight. Not a fucking idea in sight. Everyone else is leading, and he's just tweeting about it. Mm-hmm. That's what all their genius fucking brains inside their campaign. All the fucking morons who thought it was smart not to talk to real progressive media and face questions, and because they couldn't face a question from a dumb motherfucker like me, Bernie goes on The View and he gets his ass handed to him by a dummy like fucking Whoopi Goldberg. He gets his ears boxed in by questions that are 4 years old. That's how fucking horrible he is. That's how little he wants to win this race. That's what a feckless leader he is. That's what a bullshit campaign he's run this entire time, because it never had a vision. It never would critique power, ever. It wouldn't. Have you ever seen Bernie Sanders critique fucking Barack Obama?
No, and that's one of the things that Black talks about all the time is the Obama effect, the fact that there are untouchables within the Democratic Party establishment that even the so-called most progressive elements of the Democratic Party refuse to call out and refuse to demand anything better from. It's not even a matter of calling them out for what they represent structurally. Even just